All right. Well, thank you, Stefan and Matt, for the wonderful introduction. And the topic of my talk today is content delivery. Set it and forget it. And that phrase is one some of you may remember from infomercials. I think they were in the 90s from Ron Popeil and Ronco. They had such wonderful products as the Pocket Fisherman. And in this case, I'm making a reference to the Showtime rotisserie and barbecue. So you're going to put your roast in this rotisserie machine, and you'd set it and forget it, and the audience would chant along. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, you're welcome for the YouTube rabbit hole that you're about to go down, hopefully after my session, not during. But really what I want to talk about today is building out a documentation portal on the fly, and we're going to be using XML documentation for Adobe Experience Manager to do that today. And I think the timing of this session today is particularly good. We just had a really great session from Jolene at Broadcom and Bernard from Publishing Smarter, where they talked about migration, a lot of talk about content migration. How do I get content in to a CCMS? And then looked a little bit at one of their very nice deliverables that they're producing, hosted on Adobe Experience Manager. So we'll be looking at a little bit more in detail about not only how you do that, but probably also why. And then Marco from BlackBerry as well showcased some of the authoring capabilities, and also showed off their beautiful support portal as well. So really leading into this with some of the more work-intensive stuff that needs to be done, migrating and authoring content, will show you how easy it is to, once all of that legwork is done, somebody else has set this up for you, we'll go ahead and be able to deliver this content seamlessly to a support portal, for example. So, my name is Chad Dybdahl. As Stefan has already mentioned, I'm a solutions consultant for Adobe Technical Communications, really specializing over the course of my career, and especially at my time here at Adobe, with in structured authoring and specifically data-based content management and authoring solutions. We'll be talking about today. And for this presentation, I really hope you guys love rhetorical questions, because we have got a ton of them for you. And I guess with that, I'll just jump right in. So the first one is kind of interesting, right? How many people actually consume the content that you and your team are producing on a daily basis? Right? When I started out as a tech writer, it was really one of the things that we always talked about was, this is a user-focused role, right? We're an advocate for our customers, that kind of thing, right? We're creating content for our customers to consume in order to help them use the products and or services that we provide, right? So how many people, just think about maybe a number in your head, how many people do you think consume that content that you're creating? I think this is an important statistic, and I don't think, maybe some of us don't even know, right? We might know how many PDFs get downloaded from the site that we use to host this stuff, but a lot of times what I hear when I'm talking to various organizations around the world is, this is sort of an unknown. So hopefully that's not you, but chances are, likely you may not have a really solid idea of how many people you're reaching with this content that you're creating. And so this is you, right? This person over here at the desk really looks like they're working kind of backwards on a laptop. I'm not entirely certain what they're doing, but that's you, right? That's you and maybe your team of writers. So right now, the world looks pretty lonely. You're not reaching anybody. And we think about, how many people do we reach with this content? And there's a disconnect, right? You're not interacting directly with these people. You'd go nuts if you were trying to field queries about products from everybody who could consume your technical documentation potentially. So here's you on the left, and there. Now we've got a handful of people, right? This is one possible answer to that question on the previous slide. How many people does your content reach? Oops, bad at PowerPoint today. Let's try that again with the right arrow keys. So it might be that. So now we've already doubled the number of users and people consuming this content that you and your team create. But it keeps going, right? There's all of these people. And one of the things I really think about, going back to the idea of technical communicator as customer champion, right? And somebody who is providing really an important part of the product. The documentation is a key component of any product that you buy or is delivered. Maybe not for something like a light bulb, right? Unless it's a smart light bulb, right? Talking about home automation. But maybe just think to yourself, who's the most important person in this picture, right? And the concept of utilitarianism in philosophy, the idea of maximizing the overall good and maximizing the benefit to the largest number of people. Really, when we look at this, the most important part of this equation is the customer, always, right? Without a customer, we don't have sales, right? We don't have money. There's a lot of things missing if there's no customers in the equation. So I really want to think about, who are these people, right? Who are your customers? Do you know? Do you have personas? That's certainly one way to determine who you're reaching. But that's again kind of inward looking, right? You're basing that on your impression of the audience you're trying to. And so thinking about not only who but how many, right? Thinking about all of those things. You saw probably hundreds of people on that previous slide, and every one of those people might be using a different device to access your content. There's been some talk today during the previous sessions about Adobe's really very cool liquid mode PDF, where we're using Adobe's Sensei AI platform to actually refactor that PDF on the fly for your device size. But there's all these different types of devices that might be in use that you're using to deliver content to your audience. And until very recently, a PDF just not going to cut it on some of these devices. I've tried using PDFs on my phone, right? There's a lot of pinching and zooming, or there was a lot of kind of scrolling because things don't fit on the screen. I'd hate to see what that would look like on a watch. That would not be an ideal way to consume most types of content. But these kind of differing device sizes, that's the kind of information we really want to know as technical communicators, particularly. Right? Who? How? Right? How are they accessing the content? Is it on a tablet, on a phone? A lot of cases, the folks I talk to day in and day out, they just don't know, right? And that's really one of the biggest challenges to this idea of addressing your audience and providing your audience what they need. And you need to meet them where they are, right? On whatever device they're on, whatever method they're using to access your content. That's information that you need to have. And it's really, really crucial and central to your content strategy. And, thinking about the way this content is being delivered, thinking about who is consuming it, what devices, and so forth, right? That's the input that you can take, and it's actionable for you, right? So understanding, I need something responsive. Well, until maybe 2 weeks ago when Adobe announced it, PDFs were not responsive at all, and now they're, liquefied all over the different devices, right? So we've got a lot of new ways and exciting new things to talk about when it comes to multi-channel, multi-device kind of delivery of this technical content that you and your team create every day. Another very exciting rhetorical question: what does your delivery pipeline look like? So I hear a lot of talk about, well, we've got our source content on the file system, and then we have a Jenkins build that does does a bunch of things, and it deploys ultimately via static site generator. And these are all, a bunch of point solutions that we've essentially cobbled together to work in kind of tandem, right? But there's always kind of problems when we think about integrations. How does that look? And maybe a lower tech version of that is, well, my delivery pipeline looks like I'm generating a PDF from FrameMaker, and then I'm emailing it to somebody, and they're posting it on the website. Or if I'm lucky, I've gotten access to be able to update PDFs on our website, et cetera, right? So there's a really wide range of different ways that people have solved for this problem, right? And thinking a little bit more about that, and this slide is a bit of a Rebus puzzle, but it's going to require some explanation because you guys don't have the same context as I do. But I see it as, really a matter of the tools being used, right? So the reason I chose a shovel here for this particular analogy that I'm making is that actually just last week, we had in our backyard here in beautiful Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a new patio installed. So there was an old patio in the backyard. It was cracked concrete. It's between a couple of trees, and the roots had caused the concrete to heave and crack. And this was also causing problems because our neighborhood sort of slopes downward towards us. And this cracked patio also served as a bit of an on-ramp directly to the foundation of our house. So we had a water problem there. We had just an ugliness problem with this old, cracked, disgusting patio. And we were going over this. We've been here, I think, 6 years now, and we were thinking about different ways we could solve this problem. And ultimately, we decided, this is not a do-it-yourself, grab a shovel and try to fix the problem, right? So think about this shovel as representing perhaps your current delivery pipeline. Manual in nature, really I'm doing one little shovel load at a time, one PDF at a time, one set of HTML files at a time. I'm delivering that really kind of manually, and I'm breaking a bit of a sweat doing it, right? I'm spending a lot of extra time, and I go back to the previous session where we talked about this kind of build times and this kind of dramatic reduction in effort that our friends at Broadcom saw as a result of implementing Adobe Experience Manager with the XML add-on. So that's our shovel, right? This old way of manually delivering content to our customers. And you can contrast that with what the crew that we hired actually did when they were building out this new patio. So the old concrete patio, that needed to be cut up and hauled away. And this is about 4-inch thick concrete. I would have been badly broken if I tried to remove any of that myself, right? And then I wouldn't be here talking to you fine people today. I'd be in traction or something, right? So they brought in something like the machinery. It didn't look exactly like this. It's a little stylized, but they brought in some kind of, like a forklifty thing, and they took it out to the truck and they dumped it and they disposed of it for us. And then they were grading the ground because we had that water problem. So they're grading the ground, and they were not using Well, a couple of them were using shovels for the finer details, but they were using heavy machinery to just scrape the ground away and move the dirt. I thought on many occasions, right? I don't know how long this project would have taken me to take out an old patio, put in, I think they told me roughly 20 tons of new material in the backyard. That also would not have been good for my back or my general physical well-being, trying to take that on myself. But it's also a matter of time, right? And that's another thing that, that Jolene and Bernard talked about, is bringing these, eliminating this kind of non-value added activity of manually shoveling content wherever it needs to go, and bringing in some technology to help, right? So I kind of want to just frame this discussion in this idea of bringing in new tools to do things that, yeah, you can do that manually, but if I were to build a patio, that would have taken me months, and I wouldn't have been very happy about it. The crew I brought in here did it in 2 days. So quite a bit of difference, and I think certainly something maybe we can all relate to. Along those same lines, I want to think of what if there was a better way to do what we're doing today? Not only for the writer, right, which, as we I think already established, is in the minority, right, in terms of stakeholders here when they're thinking about the effort involved, but any kind of tools we can put at that writer's disposal to increase their productivity, shrink that build time by like 60% or more, that's a force multiplier, right? Any time that they're not spending on manually formatting content, manually sending content to the web team to prep it for ultimately delivery on the site, etc. Right? All of that time that's currently spent up shoveling the pieces of content, one shovel full of dirt at a time, or content at a time, I should say. Don't want to compare your content to dirt, right? It's much more valuable than that. But how can they spend their time better? Right? And if I can just click a couple of buttons and automatically deploy my content to my customer portal, cut out all of the middlemen, the kind of cobbled together solutions that we hear about and see, these kind of random point solutions that, yeah, we're getting grabbed an authoring tool from company A, and we've got a publishing pipeline here from company B, and then there's a CMS, or a CCMS, I should say, that we've bought from company C. And then to host all that, it's a totally separate, maybe we're doing something on Drupal, or whatever the case might be, right? I've kind of collected these essentially random solutions, cobbled them together into something resembling a delivery pipeline, and really, it's something that I hate hearing about as a consultant, and that's because all of these kind of, hear the word integrations a lot, right? All of these integrations can be fragile. So I'm kind of tying things together with, get my duct tape out and my baling wire, and I'm kind of creating this sort of Frankenstein situation where I've got, maybe I like tool X and tool Y. I'm trying to get them to work together, and that's a lot of work. That's systems integration work, and it's also expensive to do in the first place. It's also expensive to maintain going forward. And I just think it's unlikely to be as reliable as a single platform for doing everything you need to do with your content, all the way through migration to translation, to review, to publishing, to ultimately delivering that, to hosting it in an environment where your customers can easily find and use the content on the device that they want to use. Now, I don't think anyone listening on the session today is going to be surprised that I am going to suggest that XML documentation for Adobe Experience Manager is that one platform. Literally the only platform available in the market today where we can handle all of the things required throughout our content lifecycle, from inception to creation of that content, authoring the content, reviewing the content that's been authored, gathering feedback from subject matter experts, managing translation workflows and approval workflows, to ultimately delivering one platform. No integrations, right? It's just one thing. We don't need to send things off and hire a systems integrator to create APIs to pump things out to other platforms, etc. We have a single platform that's going to do everything we need under one roof. And the first and most important to this audience and on the subject of this wonderful DITA World Conference is the idea of DITA Component Content Management. That's the XML add-on part of the XML add-on for Adobe Experience Manager. That's what makes Adobe Experience Manager a full-featured, end-to-end, structured authoring content or component content management platform. We're going to bring the DITA into our ultimately delivery platform. So we'll see how that works. And when I say it's an XML add-on, the thing that XML adds onto is Adobe's Enterprise Digital Asset Management Platform, which we call Adobe Experience Manager Assets. So there are two modules that live within the same tool, and in fact they stack, right? So I install Adobe Experience Manager Assets. That's where I get things like version control, tagging our content to create search facets, and being able to have all of the check-in and check-out and all of that kind of asset management capability. So we have this kind of version control platform, AEM Assets, which is also tightly integrated with our Creative suite of products. So Photoshop and Illustrator have direct integrations with that, as well as Adobe FrameMaker, of course, another product that we all know and love. So we do have this other aspect to it. So that we stopped there, right? I stopped there. What I'm going to have is essentially a pure DITA CCMS with some very sophisticated asset management capabilities in terms of things that people traditionally consider digital assets, images, video, and so forth. So I could stop right here and have a completely full-featured DITA CCMS, complete with publishing, but I'm not going to have that hosting capability, which we're going to get from another module of Adobe Experience Manager that we call Adobe Experience Manager Sites. And this is our very scalable platform for hosting content used throughout the Fortune 500. Very, very scalable. Can't say that word today. I'm going to stop trying. But it's going to be able to actually host your content at scale and be able to deliver it with an extremely high degree of reliability. So that's another kind of module within the AEM suite of products, AEM Sites, and that's where we're actually going to publish our websites. Okay. So far we've got AEM Assets, which is our repository, our content repository. We're layering on top of that the XML add-on for AEM, which is the product that I work with all the time. And then we're going to have a delivery mechanism, kind of a semi-traditional web CMS here that's going to enable us to actually deliver that content. But this doesn't address any of the questions that we talked about earlier, aside from the delivery pipeline. So there were some more fundamental questions, right? Who is consuming this content? We've got you covered there as well. So Adobe Target is another module that kind of bolts into the AEM ecosystem, and that's going to be able to provide you with the ability to do things like audience targeting. So if you've got conditions built into your data content, we can dynamically render this content based on a user profile, based on some user selections, right? If I've selected I'm an admin, and I want to see just the admin content for this router or whatever it is that I'm working on, right? I can go ahead and build out either automated or kind of on-demand personalization for my customers using Adobe Target. So that's about who, right? Who's accessing the content. And then it gets really interesting when we start thinking about analytics, right? So you've probably heard about various analytics platforms. Google obviously has an analytics platform where it tends to work out that you're actually the product because they don't charge for their analytics. Generally speaking, if you are not paying for the product, you are the product. Adobe doesn't do that, right? So we provide as an additional module to Adobe Experience Manager the ability to gather analytics on your content. So these can be very actionable, right? I can see, well, what are my most popular topics, right? And that might actually be feedback that could go back into the development cycle, right? So if somebody's always searching for how do I mute blue jeans, right? Maybe you need to improve the UI and do some UX design to make it more apparent to users how they can mute blue jeans, for example, right? So when we start gathering this information, it has an impact way beyond the content itself, right? It can actually be a feedback loop for our products. You can see people are having the same problem over and over again. We can go ahead and act on that information, not just as technical communicators, but as a company that produces products that people use. So really interesting kind of ways of thinking about content that I'm not convinced a lot of folks are doing today very effectively. And we want to pull that all together, again, a single fully integrated platform, which I would like to suggest is XML documentation for Adobe Experience Manager. And I say I'm suggesting it, but I happen to be aware that this is the only platform that can do all of these things in a single instance. Otherwise, we're back in the world of duct tape and baling wire, kind of strapping together different solutions and having some fun with that. I do see a question very quickly in the chat, how to connect DITA to AEM, and that actually requires our XML documentation add-on for Adobe Experience Manager. Thank you for your question. I hope you can go ahead and get in touch with us, and we'll let you know a little bit more about it. We will see a little bit of a demo here shortly, though, so looking forward to sharing that with you. All right, so we've got all these problems, right? We don't know who's consuming our content. We don't know what content really is the most useful to them. We don't know anything about their geography or the devices that they're accessing the content on. And we have this single, fully integrated platform that's going to help us create and manage data content. And we'll see that here. A little slow on the draw there, changing slides. And this is something Marco showed during his presentation, right? So he showed you how this XML editor is directly embedded within Adobe Experience Manager. It's a native, deeply integrated content creation environment for your technical communicators to create native data content directly within Adobe Experience Manager. So really deeply integrated here. We'll have he was showing snippets at the end, so we've got the ability to do snippets and the ability to define, kind of predefine reusable content for your authors, etc. We can go ahead and really have a full-featured, I think of it as like a IDE or integrated development environment for your data content, all within the browser. To have a desktop application unless you choose to, as our friends at Broadcom do, right? They use FrameMaker. So both are fully supported, but XML documentation for Adobe Experience Manager does provide this wonderful content creation experience out of the box for you. I was a little torn on the screenshot to show for manage content, because that could be a whole bunch of things. It could be different versions, which is what I'm showing here. This is available natively within our XML editor, just the ability to essentially peruse your version history, see the differences between that version and the current version, and be able to go ahead and revert to a different version, to go ahead and create a branch, or track the changes from that previous version into the current version and accept or reject the changes, etc. So that was my idea of manage, but obviously there's more to it than that. So being able to add version comments, add labels to versions for the purposes of what we would think of as release management, etc. There's a wide range of kind of functionality that surrounds this idea of managing content. And I just picked what I thought was the kind of most interesting example of that here. So you can see what that might look like. And then really one of the big challenges, I think I saw a question about this during one of the previous sessions today. So if you do continue to have that question, I think it might have been Fonda, so we've talked before. If you do have questions about how our collaborative review workflow works, certainly contact us. There'll be some contact information at the end of the session here, but we do provide a fully integrated collaborative review experience, which is very importantly non-destructive. So we would go ahead and allow our subject matter experts to strike through and inserting text and adding comments, much like you would if you were marking up a PDF in Acrobat. But it's then up to the content author to actually incorporate these changes using track changes, accept, reject, and so forth. Also, the ability to manage multiple language variants, very important. A big driver of a lot of cost savings that a lot of our customers see. Ability to, first of all, directly integrate with their translation management service of choice, and go ahead and manage the translation. So I guess this is also another side of that manage coin, right? Managing the translation and localization of your content in a variety of languages. And then I want to go ahead and publish. And this is one of the things, again, I saw something in the chat about, boy, this idea of a one-click deployment or one-click publish is really appealing. How do you do that, right? So I'll show you actually in just a moment how we can go ahead and not only publish this content. I'm going to publish them to some doc portals here. That'll be very seamless and just a couple of clicks. But I'm not just publishing here, because I'm also going to be delivering this content. And this is going to be the Adobe Experience Manager Sites aspect of AEM. You may recall I spoke about a little bit ago. So we want to go ahead and have that entire experience, have all of these kind of different different activities can happen in the same single platform, rather than cobbling, let's say rolling the dice on different solutions and hoping that everything works out without providing us too much of a headache. Another really important advantage of a single platform, not only for my technical content, but AEM itself is also well used and widely used for marketing content. So both pre and post sales content living under the same roof, sharing a taxonomy, sharing the look and feel that we want to provide for our customers. I mean, too often we go to documentation sites, and I'm sure many of you have had this experience, and some of you are probably delivering an experience like this, where you go to the marketing page, the www page, homepage for the company. It's just beautiful, right? There's these gorgeous imagery, and the layout is nice, and it's very kind of dynamic. And then you go to like docs.whatever.company.com, and you see very bare bones. And this is sort of an area where I think technical communications as a discipline has lagged behind on the kind of presentation layer for their content. We really want to talk about delivering our technical documentation as an experience. Make it easy to not search, right? I don't want searchable content because anybody can search stuff. I want them to actually find what they're looking for. So I need my content to be findable. And that goes back to the idea of the taxonomy, which is sort of a plank in our Great Experiences platform. You need to have that taxonomy to drive findability. And we really want to deliver this as content that's really on a par with the kind of pre-sales content, because one of the things that we've been seeing over the course of the past few years is that post-sales or support content is increasingly becoming content that customers will reference before they've made a purchase decision, and probably before they've even contacted you. So we're going to see this really driving increased engagement for the customer, even before they start pick up the phone. Probably not, but send you an email expressing interest. What you're doing with the experiences that you deliver on your documentation portal is, for those types of customers I'm mentioning, is a preview of what it's like to be your customer. And if it's drab, if you can't find anything, that doesn't paint a rosy picture for what that future relationship might look like. And so we want this, I think, to be in a single, completely self-contained, I say integrated here, but it's not integrated, right? It's just one thing. We're just enabling different add-ons within this single platform. And that platform is Adobe Experience Manager. And one more rhetorical question: when will the slideshow end? And we can see some of the cool stuff that Chad has been talking about. How about now? Is now good for everyone? Breathe a collective sigh of relief. We no longer need to just listen to me talk. We can go ahead and take a look at some of the cool stuff that we've been cooking up in our Showtime rotisserie and barbecue, powered by Adobe Experience Manager.
Now is good.
Now is the perfect timing for that.
Excellent. Everyone's falling asleep. I just got a notification that Eddie Van Halen just died. That's really upsetting.
Oh, really? Oh, God.
Yeah. Well, you told me to keep my phone on near my desk, so that's the information I received. Yeah, awful. So this is Adobe Experience Manager. It will be a surprise to no one that I have the XML Documentation add-on also installed here, and we are looking at a folder full of data content that has a theme of cryptozoology. So I hope everybody's super into that. And we can just open this map up. I know we have taken a look at this already in one of the previous sessions, but for those of you who haven't had the advantage of being in that session, we can go ahead and just open up some of the content, see what it looks like in our authoring environment. I can turn tags on and off, of course, and so forth, right? I can go ahead and see my source. I can mention the reusable content. I can go ahead and drag and drop content references and things like that. The snippets we already took a look at. These are the snippets. so I can go ahead and drag things in here. But I just wanted to show you, this is the create aspect of the tool that we've been talking about. I can have also different topics open, and maybe I want to split them left and right and go ahead and work on 2 topics at once because I'm some kind of crazy multitasker. So I can go ahead and work with all of this content directly within the browser. So I don't have to use any kind of client application here that's relying on an integration again, right? This is deeply embedded within the guts of Adobe Experience Manager as a structured authoring platform that's going to help us create valid, good data content. So that's the authoring environment. I just wanted to show you this content a little bit. And one of the really powerful things about AEM is we can bundle it with a number of different publishing pipelines. So natively we come with the Data Open Toolkit. We've added a little bit of our special sauce there that is going to enable us to produce an Adobe Experience Manager site. But you can see I have a bunch of different options here. So one of the things that was discussed during the previous session was FrameMaker Publishing Server. We offer a direct integration with FrameMaker Publishing Server, totally native, right? They're 2 Adobe products. They talk together, play together very nicely. But you can actually see that we do have the ability to, for example, let's just make a boring old AEM site and a PDF. I can go ahead and choose the ones I want, and I can generate that output with 2, 3 clicks. When I want to go ahead and take a look, we'll see I publish this one a lot, actually. I use this all the time. We will see that we're going to get a site and a PDF. So take a look at the PDF, and there's my cryptozoological field guide with our chapters and all that good stuff. So standard Data Open Toolkit publishing here. We don't have a plugin installed on this particular server to customize it or anything like that. But one-click publishing of multiple different types of deliverables. But this stuff really isn't very eye-grabbing, right? It's not very styled. It's also, I can't find a way to find, what if I don't want the cryptozoological, what if I want to find out how to work my spaceship, for example? Where's my products? Do they have any help here? I search for my spaceship. Do I have anything? Not going to get any results. Well, that's not any good. Okay, so what I've done here was I've posted or created a essentially a microsite for my cryptozoological field guide. It's not really part of my portal, though. So this is essentially a preview of what it could look like if I were to use my default AEM site and PDF templates. Fair enough? So really what I want to be able to do, though, is to empower my authors to, well, let's back up. Think about that PDF, right? If I were to want to deliver this PDF to my customers today, and put yourself in this position, you've got a PDF you've produced. How do you get that out the door? How does that go to your customer portal, or however it is that you've chosen to deliver content? They're probably going to go ahead and download that and maybe email it off to somebody on the web team, and they're going to go ahead and post it for you. Or if you're very lucky, you're going to download it and then go to the portal yourself because they've been kind enough to give you admin access. You can go ahead and upload it there. But it's really clunky, right? And you're not delivering the content in the most efficient way possible. You're also not delivering very interesting experience, right? This is the out-of-the-box look and feel. There's no branding, right? It's just kind of a blank slate, and this is what you'll start with AEM, but for the purposes of customizing. But Interestingly, I've got a couple of other publish options. I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm just going to select these other two options. I'm going to publish an AAM site to my doc portal, and I'm going to publish a PDF to my doc portal. I'm just going to go ahead and generate that. And if we go underneath our Outputs tab, those should take just a moment. And once we do that, we're going to skip the PDF this time and go straight to the AAM site I'm producing. There it is. I'm going to give it just a minute because that PDF is actually a dependency that we need to be there. Now let's take a look at what we get. So same content, right? I just selected a couple of different options in my publish menu. And here, if I go to the AAM site for my doc portal, looks pretty different now, right? So I can go ahead and find my content about maybe my Sasquatch content. You can see I'm getting some kind of animations here as I load pages. If you watch on the right there, we'll see different things float up that I might be interested in at this level, right? So as we all know, the Loch Ness Monster was a hoax. This is just a stick or something. Or maybe a guy holding his hand, kind of weird, sticking out of the water. Who knows what it was? And we might want to think about our Sasquatch friends, right? So the Sasquatch is one of the few cryptids who is obviously real. So that is called out here in this content. Things like feedback. So Jolene, during the previous session, mentioned the idea of live fire integration. So maybe I want to give these some ratings, and maybe I want to create a review of my content, and so forth. And then I also want to be able to get that PDF. So you'll recall, I published both things. Published the AAM site, and then I published a PDF to go along with it. And if I go ahead and click that, I'm going to get my zoological field guide in PDF format. So I can have this kind of multiple ways of consuming the content, and I'm not telling my customers how to consume this content. I'm allowing them to choose, right? So you can either just browse through the web version. You can download the PDF. If you happen to be on a phone, I don't need to see my dock or desktop. If I happen to be on a phone, I can resize that to be phone sized, right? So it's responsive out of the box. It's going to go ahead and resize itself to any kind of screen size that your customers may be looking to use. I can collapse my navigation that then goes to the top if I want to, and so forth, right? So a really powerful way of delivering content for any device, right? Any screen size, going to be totally responsive out of the box. If I want this PDF and I happen to have the new version of Acrobat installed, I can take advantage of liquid mode even if I'm on a phone. But I still am kind of locked into a single product here, right? So, oops, that's not what I wanted. Or am I, right? So we talked about search facets before. And what happens is essentially what we've done here is I've set up a special location within my content repository, within my sites hierarchy, where I can go ahead, publish these things to, and then that's going to automatically show up under my products tab. So you notice the Cryptozoological Field Guide is the most recent one that I've published, but I might want to look at my AAM Forms content here, right? So I can find very easily through a drop-down menu, or it could be anything, right? It could be a series of checkboxes, or a search capability that you build off to the right. So this is really powerful kind of starting point for you to build out a custom documentation portal that's really going to meet the customer needs, not only based on who they are, where they are, the device they're working on, but actually allow them and empower them to find the content that you want to deliver to them on a really easily scalable, set it and forget it kind of track here. And so with that, that was the end of the demo I had prepared. I guess we have a few minutes left for some questions.
Great, Chad. Did you get a chance to look in the Q&A section? Because we've got some really good ones at the top there.
I was just taking a look. Let's see what we've got.
So Jared asked a couple of questions in the chat and in the Q&A. One interesting one was the ability to add comments to a topic and then allow the authors to mine that data to improve the docs. Wondered if you want to speak to that real quick.
Sure, that was one of the things that Jolene mentioned actually during the previous presentation. Was this it's called Livefire, and that is, pardon me, that is a means of doing exactly that, right? We can gather feedback from our audience, right? Kind of collect it and associate it with whatever object they happen to be. Actually, I can show you. So we've got this idea of so we've got my review. I can go ahead and create a review here. That gets fed into Livefire, right? And we can go ahead and ultimately produce reports or whatever the case might be, however you want that to work, for the authors to actually act upon.
Perfect. Now, I know that Kristen had one you might want to take offline because it's a little bit specific in nature. But you've also got a question on AEM and its ability to handle and embed videos, especially when producing to PDFs. Or you can choose window B, which is choosing the content, which content is visible on different screen sizes, which I would assume is relating to an HTML5 type environment.
Okay, so that's a lot to unpack. In terms of can AEM handle video? Yeah. So as Adobe, we are probably best known for multimedia content creation. AEM itself is part of that strategy. And so as a digital asset management platform, it can natively handle essentially any kind of multimedia file format you throw at it. It's got some amazing things that it does, particularly with video. Including auto cropping to focus on the subject, and can create different sizes for different environments. We call those renditions, and then you can of course embed that in a PDF. So yes to all of that.
Mm-hmm. There's also an interesting presentation or the keynote that we have today at the end. We will talk about AI. There we will also talk about these kind of things, and intelligent video processing and visual detection of objects in videos and stuff like that. So watch out for that keynote at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah,
It's
really impressive.
Yeah. How about speaking really quickly to ability for multiple screen sizes, looking at the responsive output?
Oh, in terms of the objects to be shown, like if I don't want a video to show up or whatever the case might be.
Yeah, it could be selective, right? Rather than using intelligence to figure out what data, but simply using screen resolution to determine the order or the presentation of material.
Sure. Yeah, that's sort of standard responsive design stuff. So you really, and AEM as a platform is really capable of handling kind of any of those requirements that you put at it. It's just a matter of kind of defining those requirements and understanding how they're handled out of the box and what kind of development work would need to happen in order to, for example, suppress videos or show a different resolution on different screen sizes, etc. So certainly can do that. It just needs a little bit of digging in order to uncover those needs and requirements.
Excellent. Okay, well done. You got any parting words for everybody?
Well, I just want to thank everyone for their time today. It was really, as always, a pleasure. Talk to you in a while, Matt.